Okay, let's jump into it. So thank you again, everyone. Welcome to the third workshop in our integration workshop series. For those of you that have been following us in the series, thank you so much for joining once again. And for those that are new, welcome. We're glad that you could be here today. In today's workshop, we're going to dive into what we believe is the foundation for a successful automation as an education agent. Okay. Obviously, there's many ways to go about it, many different types of automation and integrations. But today we're going to focus on setting you up for success, setting up a good foundation to a smooth and successful automation, right? Up to now, we've focused mainly on specific stages of our sales funnel. But what's really important when we talk about the funnel is how to tie everything together. So that's what we'll talk about today. Okay. Think of this workshop today as your cheat sheet, because along the way, I'll give you examples of some of the apps that we've come across and use here at Edvisor that have helped manage our efficiency and growth. Okay, so it's a big one. Let's get right into it. Okay, your website as a salesman. First off, we're going to go through a quick recap and just an overview from the last workshop that we did, and we'll talk about the action steps there quickly. Then we'll just review the education sales funnel that we had from the previous workshops as well. Then we're going to go into what we believe are the three phases of automating your ecosystem, and that is standardizing, centralizing, and automizing your information and your data. Okay. And of course, as we go into those slides, we'll talk about those in more detail. And then finally, like we do always, we'll cap it off with a little summary to talk about everything that we are discussing. Okay. So quickly, let's go into the recap. In the recap, last workshop, we focused on some best practices for an education agency website. We learned about bounce rate and a call to action. High bounce rates are bad. Visitors visit one page and they leave. Without a proper call to action, your website will not stand a chance to convert the visitors, right? So what we concluded was, one, use the right keywords to attract the ideal customers for your website. Okay. Number two, landing pages with specific content, course type, location, school brands. This allows you to create many email campaigns and marketing campaigns on your social media that point visitors to specific pages on your website. So landing pages, specific content is very important. Designing for mobile, very obvious, very clear, but very important, right? If you're not designing for mobile, if you're not thinking about your website in a mobile view, you could get left behind. Think about our ideal customers that we talked about, millennials and zennials, the kids that have the buying power these days. How many of them are using their phones, right, to open up websites, emails, and everything, right? So it's very important. Okay, so if it's your first time, again, I've mentioned it before, if your first time joining us, I encourage you to go back and watch those videos for workshop 1 and 2. It kind of gives a good summary of what we will be talking about today. Just send me a message and we'll try to get to you, get a link to you. Okay. So going back to the education sales travel sales funnel. Today, for this purpose, we're going to talk about ecosystem because with all the integrations possible today that we're going to be discussing today, with a creative automation workflow, it can basically feed itself. So that's why I want to refer today as an ecosystem, because we're really kind of looking at how we can keep this whole funnel or ecosystem kind of going around and around and feeding itself. Every business director, every business owner's dream, right? So just keep that in mind today. We'll be looking at more of an ecosystem, as a cyclical way to feed leads into the top of your funnel from the bottom even. Okay. So what do we believe? We believe 3 phases to an automated ecosystem, right? Through our experience, we've identified these 3 main areas that most agencies would need to build for a strong foundation for an automatic ecosystem. Right? Each phase can apply to any stage in your sales funnel. We're talking about marketing, sales, client support, right? But ideally would be completed in order of these 3 phases. Of course, there's always exceptions to every rule and you don't have to follow. But again, what we're talking about today is to set yourself up for a success, right? A smooth and successful automation. Okay? And as we discuss each phase, I'll give you examples of apps that kind of fit the bill for each phase, right? So those three phases are standardizing, we talked about. We're talking about data here. So standardizing your data, okay? Centralizing that information, so it can be accessed easily. And three, the obvious part is automizing, right? Automating your whole system, integrating your apps, making everything come together. So like I said, these three phases, 1, 2, 3, in order, really sets yourself up for smooth automation, right? So let's go into each one in more detail. Number one, standardizing your data, right? The first place to start when you want to design an automated system in anything, marketing, sales, customer support, is to standardize that data, right? This means deciding on a simple and consistent way that you record your data across all areas of your business, right? So like that, my first point there is keep your data clean, right? Let's take something like dates, for example, as a basic example, okay? You can't take for granted the way that you collect a simple date field, right? Many different apps or different areas, even countries record the date field very differently. Now, in our industry, what we're talking about here, education sales, we deal with dates a lot: start dates, end dates, payment dates, deposit dates, letter of acceptance dates, things like that, right? So it's really important, if you're thinking about automation, to standardize that, right? Is it year, month, day? Is it month, day, year? Every system or app you come across may use a different format. So when you're passing this information back and forth between apps in an integration, it's really important to think about a consistent format, right? Applying this idea on a bigger scale to your ecosystem, your sales funnel, right? As an education agency, you collect info from everywhere, right? Facebook, WhatsApp, website forms, any kind of campaigns that you have, right? Student fairs and things like that. It's easy to lose track of all this data coming in, right? So I've seen some really, really messy databases in my experiences. And even before we start to change and build that automation out, we have to clean this data. And we've learned it the hard way at Edvisor ourselves. It can take days or weeks just to clean the data before we can even get it ready for automation. So how can we avoid this? Some tips on how avoiding this. It all starts with how we collect our information, right? In fact, the next workshop after this, I'm going to be talking a lot about how we collect this data. It's called Smart Forms. And I'll talk a little bit more about it later on in the workshop, but that's the next workshop where we're going to really focus on data collection, right? Keeping our data clean. Okay. So some examples here. I have 4 examples here. The first one is Typeform. Typeform is kind of a creator for your website, collecting the data. You can design forms to be placed on your website. Really cool, really easy, very, very simple to do. Right. Another one is Unbounce, which is kind of along the same idea, but it's a whole landing page creator. So we talked about the creating specific content for your landing pages. Unbounce does a really great job and can, you can set the standard for the information that you collect on it, right? Another one, Google Forms. A lot of people use it. We use it at Edvisor to collect, like survey information and things like that. But it's super easy. If you're already using Google, in terms of Gmail or Google Sheets or anything, Google Forms is really, really awesome for that. Very easy to use. Another easy one is Airtable that we use a lot at Edvisor as well. That same thing. You create a form and it goes directly into your databases that are online, right? So the reason why we use Airtable is we have a database, and when you collect information from the surveys or any kind of form, it's going directly into your database in the exact format that you need. So we really love it. There's a free version of Airtable, so check it out if you're interested in that. A fun fact about Airtable as well, that if you know the celebrity Ashton Kutcher, he was one of the first investors actually of Airtable that kind of brought it where it is today. So he's really kind of brought a lot of eyes onto Airtable. So it's a really, really cool tool. Okay. So those are some examples. Next phase that we want to talk about is centralizing your data, right? Once you have created a standard for your data, then you can think about centralizing it, right? Putting it all in one place. Where is all this information going to go? Okay. This is probably the most important aspect of your automation. Okay. In general, your business as well, right? I'm sure everyone has some sort of centralized database where they record all their client data, right? Some of you are even using Edvisor, wink, wink. But the concept of centralizing can also expand to collaboration and tasks, within your team, within your company. So it's really, really important to operate and collaborate on a centralized database for quickness and efficiency. Right? It essentially creates a one-stop shop for all your operations. Right? We mentioned it again in the last workshops. Speed is the name of the game. Right? For our millennial and zennial customers, having your data quickly accessible to you and your whole team keeps you ahead of the game. Right? Obviously, in centralizing your data, you think of larger systems like CRMs, customer relationship management, and CMSs, which is content management systems, right? So no matter what you decide, just keep in mind that you want digital and online based. If you want to look at any type of integration, just makes things a lot easier. And here are some examples here of some great apps that kind of centralize your data. We here like Slack for team collaboration, communicating. You can connect these and integrate these with cool apps like your payment system, for example. With Edvisor, for example, we, every time we get a payment, we get a little notification in Slack, and then we can send a message to our teammates, our colleagues. Very, very simple, very great app that we like. Intercom is another one for monitoring customer activity and support. Airtable, I've mentioned in the last slide, it's useful for a lot of things like centralizing your data. And since we are talking about education travel, of course, Edvisor, and I'll even give a shout out to Book and Learn, both great options for centralizing your data within our industry. It's not very often you see a specialized system like that. If you guys have ever looked into any sort of CRM, there's always little things here and there that can't meet your needs. And I think, the apps that I mentioned here, Edvisor and Book and Learn, great options. Other apps out there also too, look at Pipedrive, Salesforce, RD Station, they have different, they provide different purposes as well. So find the one that works for you, take that free trial if they have it and take a look. Here at Edvisor, we actually use Pipedrive as our CRM product. And I admit it's okay, but we are finding there are some limitations just specifically for what we do at Edvisor. And really all that just shows you is that it's a constant revision process, a constant learning over years of being able to try to find the ideal combination of all these apps to integrate that works for your business needs, right? So keep trying, don't give up, and it could take a little while, but it's very, very important, okay? Whatever you choose to keep your data in, make sure it's consistent. Okay. The third and final one here, of course, the obvious one here, automize your task, automizing everything, automating all your apps and everything, right? Naturally, we can now start to think about automating once we've standardized and centralized our data, right? So how will all your data arrive to the central database, right? How will you remember to follow up on all your leads? And how will you deliver the information to your potential leads? The information that they want. I won't lie, this part requires a lot of strategic thinking. It might be difficult, it might take a long time, but it's most certainly, probably an integral part to your integration, obviously, because you're tying everything together, right? But have no fear, we're here to help you. That's what today's workshop is all about, all right? We're gonna help you to start thinking about that strategy and building a solid foundation, a solid automation to get you started, right? Automation by definition is a conversion of processes to operate automatically, right? This is what every business and owner and director wants to achieve. From simple tasks to complicated processes, any successful business will have some sort of automation. Okay, so again, here's some apps that we really like. Okay, Zapier. If you guys have talked with me one-on-one before in any chat, I talk about Zapier a lot. We think it's a really great tool. I promise you, we are not affiliated with them or anything like that. We just really like what they build, really like their product, and for any kind of integration, it's a great way to connect your client data and activity, and it results kind of almost in a whole centralized system altogether. So for example, connecting your social media marketing to your centralized database, whatever that may be, Zapier is really great for that. So take a look into it. Another one we use a lot is Mailchimp. I think I don't have to talk a lot about Mailchimp because I think a lot of people use Mailchimp or have used it in the past. Basically email marketing campaigns, really smart campaigns that you can run on there. It's a really, really cool app, okay? And then another one, maybe not many people have heard of, but if you have, great. We use it as well, called Mailshake. And if you haven't heard of Mailshake, definitely check it out, because if you're looking to reduce the time it takes you to write emails, send email reminders, and if someone doesn't reply, remembering to email them and stuff, everything is done automatically with Mailchimp, and you can kind of create these kind of systems to kind of remember to send out emails. So it's really, really cool for that. Okay. I'll mention Intercom here as well. We use that a lot. Okay. So we here at Edvisor rely heavily on Mailchimp and Intercom and Zapier. They make it super easy and quick for us to communicate with our clients and connect it all together into our own CRM as well. We just find these apps to be really the best for our needs. But as I've mentioned before, it may not be the same for you. So just take a look, check it out, and see what your needs are. Okay. So to summarize, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually talk about an ideal automation and ideal integration for all these 3 phases that we talked about and all these apps that we talked about. What is an example? What is something that could be a solid automation? Okay. So again, by no means would this be a blueprint, but definitely a good place to start. Okay. So let's begin at marketing and with Mailchimp. Let's say your agency's completed your annual student fair, and you have 1,000 student emails to get through, right? Using Mailchimp, you could create an email campaign to all of the students with a special promotion. In this example for this summary, I'm going to use something like work and study. So say you want to promote work and study. In the email, you have a link that goes to the specific landing page on your website that talks about work and study. You might have a promotion. If you have prices and courses there through, for example, Edvisor's web quotes tool, you point them into that website directly from your email campaign, and then they can sign up right there, right? So from there, they're going to some sort of type form as well. They enter their name, email, address, or like I mentioned, Edvisor's web quote tool, where they're entering that information, right? Then you take this information, and what you want to do is qualify it. So let's point to RD Station, for example. So if anyone is familiar with RD Station, it's kind of like a HubSpot inbound marketing, a great tool to qualify your leads based on scores and things like that. So RD Station helps you qualify, basically helps you filter out those serious students as well. Now we're going to a centralized database here. And in this example, I'm going to use Edvisor, but there's activities here in the centralized database that Edvisor is very unique to our industry, right? Now you're going to send them quotations for prices. Now you're going to talk about the, enrollments and applications, as well as invoices and collecting payments, right? So a lot of these activities that you can do within Edvisor to be used as our centralized database, that can be actually integrated with many of these different kind of apps. From here, there's a bit of a branch off, okay? For successful payments, you can go to now your QuickBooks, and this is an integration as well with Edvisor. Your invoices, your finances, and all that stuff can be sent to QuickBooks here. Any finance app that you have, any kind of integration, we can talk about, sending that information, that finance information to whatever tool that you have. We have QuickBooks here. Branching off, you can actually go back to Mailchimp and add them into a new campaign. These are for leads that may have been lost. Maybe they didn't go and pay. They didn't pay the enrollment or deposit or anything. But you can see how now it becomes a cycle, because the lost leads now go back into another email campaign for a future communication for the student, right? Let's say you have a new promotion for, academic year with a specific school that you have, right? Again, you just add them to Mailchimp, and it automatically will send them into a campaign. Right? So as a summary here, just keep in mind the 3 phases to building a solid foundation. And from there, let your imagination and creativity, separate you from your competition. And not only that, let the robots do the work. Let the robots do the work. So thank you for joining us again today. Stay tuned for the 4th workshop that I mentioned, Smart Forms. It's going to be happening October 24th. So really quickly, about 1 week turnaround. But check out an email. It's going to invite you to it. And also check out an email for this workshop, the video that's going to be sent out to you in email. Take a look at that. As always, if you have any questions, send me an email, find me on Edvisor and live chat. Send me your thoughts, send me your feedback, send me ideas of topics that you'd love to see us cover as well. And we'll try to run it for the next workshops, right? So thanks again, and I hope to see you at the next workshop. So thank you a lot.